Now in its 9th season, it's Prodigy Bowlers Tour, celebrating junior bowling and elevating junior bowlers. Today, episode 190, the 2025 Kansas City Open May Point Tournament. 5 players have qualified for the TV finals, but only one can leave as the Division III champion. Let's meet the 5 finalists. Qualifying in the 5th position is Jackson Conroe of Lee Summit, Missouri. He'll face the number 4 qualifier, Gage Patrick of Blue Springs. The winner of that match will challenge the 3 seed, Tristan Warnke. You saw his older brother Johnny last month on Prodigy. That winner will face our 2 seed, Curtis Jones of DeSoto, Kansas, a winner on Prodigy last season. And the survivor of that match will bowl for the title against Grace Ryder of Pilot Grove, Missouri. She's our tournament leader. One of these 5 young athletes will claim the Division III title at the KCO and will sign the coveted trophy pin, punching their ticket to the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions. The Kansas City Open season takes us across many parts of the Kansas City metro area and beyond. We started the season in Olathe, Kansas, traveled to Gladstone, Missouri, then to Lawrence, Kansas, and back to Olathe in December. In February, we visited Leavenworth, Kansas, then Lawrence again in March. Then we made our annual trip to Belton, Missouri for the Adult Youth Doubles Tournament in March before returning to Leavenworth in April. We'll end the season next month in Olathe again, but today the Kansas City Open has taken us all the way north to St. Joseph, Missouri, the home of Missouri Western State University, where the Kansas City Chiefs will open their training camp in just a couple of months. And with the NFL draft now in the rearview mirror, I can tell you that everyone here in Chiefs Kingdom is ready to get the new season started. But right now, our eyes are focused on Revolutions Lanes and Fun Center, the site of the 2025 Kansas City Open May Point Tournament. As most of our viewers know by now, the KCO holds competitions in 5 average-based divisions. And each month on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, we bring you the championship round in 2 of those divisions. You'll see the Division I finals on episode 191 in about a week. But today, we're bringing you the finals in Division III, the group of players whose averages fall between 160 and 179. Here's how the qualifying round shook out in Division III. Of course, all players bowl 6 games, 3 in the morning, 3 in the afternoon. You know who made the top 5. Others you've seen on the show before include Luke Gramling, who finished as the alternate in 6th. There's Ellie Blyenberg in 10th and Aiden York in 12th. Grace Coleman of the Bowling Coleman family finished 16th. Johnny Warnke, Tristan's older brother, finished 17th. In 19th is Josiah Starr, who was hoping to make the show today after losing a heartbreaker in Division III last month when he and Logan Crosswhite both tied in the championship match, and then each player threw 4 strikes in the 9th and 10th frame roll-off, but Logan won by a single pin on handicap. Ouch. Right now, it's time to get you down to the lanes for our opening match between the number 5 qualifier, Jackson Conroe, and the 4 seed, Gage Patrick. Jackson is the younger brother of Caleb Conroe, who you saw win the Division I title at the March Adult Youth Doubles Tournament. And Gage Patrick made a valiant attempt to claim the wildcard spot at last year's Prodigy TOC in the handicap division, but came up just short. Now he'd like to get back and have another crack at it. But he'll have to win today or next month at the KCO Invitational to punch his ticket. Meanwhile, I'm certain Jackson Conroe would love to be in that tournament alongside his brother, but at the moment, I think he's just thrilled to be here in the stepladder finals today to have a chance. So let's not make him wait any longer. Gage Patrick being the higher qualifier in 4th place, he has the option, and he has elected to start the match.
Well, he's gonna be.
And look where he's playing. It's not every day we see these kids play that far deep on the lane. This ball is going to cross the arrows at the 5th arrow. That's 25, and it only gets out about as wide as the 15th board and sets beautifully in the pocket. Don't see that angle very often. And Jackson Conroe begins with a strike of his own, playing a more traditional angle out near the track. We'll see him let this one go. Sets it down on about 20. Swings it out as wide as about 8 at the break point. Snaps out the 10-pin like a boss. And we've got a strike start. Well, Jackson pulled that one left of target, I'm sure. Crosses over Brooklyn, but he gets away with it. And he's got a double to start. So now Gage Patrick up on the right lane. Oh, man, he got that one out way wide, probably wider than he meant to. It picked up the friction early, started hooking early, crossed over, and he's lucky to leave just the 5. So you can tell by where he's standing, he's going to play up around the 2nd arrow. A little right of it. I'm not sure if that's his intended line, if he's meaning to play the lanes differently on the left and right lane, but I guess we're about to find out. Now Gage starts with a strike spare. That would give him 20 in the first, but we add his 1 pin of handicap into his score in the first frame. So now his handicap is accounted for in his score. You won't have to keep track of anything. We'll do the same thing with Jackson's score once he throws a ball in the 3rd. Well, once again, Gage playing deep inside, but he threw it a little wider this time, and it didn't come back. So he's got a challenging spare ahead, the 1, 2, 10. This a form of the washout. He'll want to move his feet about 6 or 7 boards to the right of their strike position. Throw it over his strike target at the arrows and ought to put it pretty close to making it. Oh, man. He didn't miss by much. That pin just flew by the 10 pin. You'd think the wind might have got it, but no, it's an open frame. And Jackson Conroe with a 28-pin lead, working on a double. Goes through the nose. Could have had a split. Broke it up, leaves just the 3-6. This young fellow, the youngest player in our 5-player field today. Jackson is just 11. Whoops.
Hey, you're right. You're right.
Well, usually when you shoot the 3-6, you want to stand farther to the left, so you've got a little more lane to work with, but he's 11. He'll learn. But you never like to get an open frame. Jackson says his best moment in bowling was when he shot his high score, a 277. That one goes high as well. Again, breaking up the split. Leaves just the 6-pin. Pretty easy spare. He moves over to the left side of the lane. We'll go cross lane at the 6. Oh, he pulled it. That never got far enough right. So an unforced error, back-to-back opens. And all of a sudden, Jackson lets Gage right back in the match. Just one pin separating these two players now. Gage Patrick's best finish this season prior to today. In November, when we were in Lawrence, he finished 9th. He was in Division II at that time. Sends that one out wide again. And it almost gets back. Gets a piece of the head pin, but leaves the 2. Gage is 14 years old. He turns 15 toward the end of this month, May. Has one KCO title to his credit. Oh, and that one hooked right by the 2 pin. Never expect to see these kids miss a really easy single pin spare like a 2 pin, but we just saw it. And the lead for Jackson Conroe grows to 12 pins. Gage says he wants to be a criminal investigator when he grows up. Somebody's got to do it. Well, he just picked Jackson's pocket with that shot. Crossing over, trips the 6, gets a Brooklyn strike. And you take him however you can get him. All right, Jackson trying to bounce back from those back-to-back opens in the 3rd and 4th. Gets it a little too wide. The lanes are really dry out there on the outside. And if you put much turn on it, have any axis rotation at all, that ball's going to come screaming back a little too soon. Here he is at the top of his swing. Ball in pretty good position, but look at the bottom. The ball is way outside of his head. You want it right under the head. And you see the gap between his ankle and the ball. And you see that crook in his arm at the elbow? You'd like to keep that arm straight from the shoulder down, and that would bring the ball in closer to his ankle, about like that. When that ball creeps away from your ankle, and instead of being under your head, it's out to the right, you lose accuracy and power. But he makes the 6-10 and makes it look easy. And who's to complain? Jackson leads by 12. Well, I guess Gage Patrick could complain about that. But there is a remedy. Start stringing strikes. Players on our right are Division 5. You see young Kanan Duncan over there. The players to our left in the periphery, that is Division 4. And we will recap their stepladder finals when we get to the end of the show after we visit with our winner. You saw Jackson Conroe miss the head pin. He's got the 1-2-4-8. And he misses wide left, and, well, we're starting to see the players spray the ball a little bit. I know it gets frustrating for them, but they just got to keep their head in the ball game. Bear down. Keep the ball in the pocket. If you can keep the ball in play like that, you'll leave easier spares. But now the lead changes hands. Gage takes the lead, sitting on the bench, has a strike up. And puts another one on the board, and that will increase his lead to 14. When the scoring pace is low, anytime you can get a lead, that is a huge advantage. Let's take another look at Gage's game. At the bottom of the swing, the ball is right under his head. That's where we like to see it. The one thing I'd like to see is to get his fingers a little lower below the equator of the ball. That's where all the power is in bowling and revs. But that was a good shot. And it resulted in a strike. He can extend the lead to 24 with another one here. Nice commercial shot. Just didn't quite get the 10. But he should have no problem with the 10 pin. I would expect him to move to the far left side of the lane, just like he's doing. Open up his hips and shoulders just a little. And go straight at it. And that is textbook right there. Gage has got a pretty solid game. I mean, I mentioned earlier he spent part of this season as a Division II player. He fell back in March and moved into Division III, but I suspect if he has just a 1-pin handicap, obviously his average is up at the higher limits of the Division III range, so he might be back in Division II before the season is over. There's a conversion of the 10 pin by Jackson Conroe to keep this match close as we head down to the 8th, 9th, and 10th. Just 13 pins between them. Jackson says his favorite bowler is Jason Belmonte. Belmo couldn't throw a better strike than that one. That's as good as it gets. Jackson just planted that one right in the pocket. Here's his footwork, 5-step approach, a little crossover with the second step. Throws it over about 17 at the arrows, gets it out to about 12. And see you later, pins. Look where Gage is, way out on the outside edge. I'm not sure if that's going to be the optimum place to play this pair of lanes, but he thinks he's found something out there. Although after that shot, he may be questioning it. But he has chosen to play out there on the right lane for some reason. Leaves the 1-2-4. Get this ball over to the Brooklyn side and you'll make it. Just like that. So it's a 10-pin lead for Gage Patrick heading into the 9th and 10th. The winner of this match will advance to face our 3 seed, Tristan Warnke, making his first appearance on Prodigy today. Well, Gage looked down at his feet there as the ball was traveling down the lane. I'm not sure if he stuck at the line or may have had a footing issue there, but whatever the reason, the ball crosses over, leaves the 6-10. And he takes care of it. But by losing 2 pins in count on his first ball, now this match is down to within a mark. And Jackson Conroe has a strike working in the 8th. He can take the lead with a strike here in the 9th. And look at that. He just stuffed him straight back. And he lets out a deep sigh of relief after that one. I think he thought it might be going a little bit high. It looked like it was crowding the head pin just a little. Watch this. Yeah, that 4 pin just barely went back. But it did go. All right. Jackson with a 2-pin lead heading into the 10th. Oh! Tell you what, a strike there would have been huge. Would have forced Gage to double in the 10th. He might still have to double in the 10th, depending on what Jackson does on his fill ball, assuming he makes this. Okay. So Gage is going at a 180 pace. If he goes strike spare in the 10th, he finishes with 180. If Jackson gets 9 on this ball, he'll have 180. So if he can, he'd like to get a strike. That would force Gage to double in the 10th to beat him. And that's big. Either way, Gage was going to have to throw a strike on his first ball in the 10th. But with this strike, Jackson Conroe forces Gage to double to win the match. That's clutch. And Gage has taken a big risk. He's moved way inside. And it doesn't work. He sent it too wide. And that means Jackson Conroe wins match 1. If Gage makes this spare and strikes on his fill ball, he will finish with 177. Jackson has already finished with 181. Gage marks, but all he can do now is just finish out the string. It's Jackson Conroe who's moving on to match 2. I just think Gage never quite got comfortable on either lane. He tried the inside, he moved out to the outside, played in the track area some. Nothing seemed to work consistently. It's a 176 for Gage Patrick, but Jackson Conroe finished with 181, and he is our winner of match 1. And that means he will be moving on to our second match, where his next opponent is the 3 seed, Tristan Warnke, who's making his very first appearance on Prodigy Bowlers Tour today. That's coming up. For the player, what always makes match play so exciting is the opportunity to be placed in the ultimate pressure situation where you need to produce 1 or 2 strikes in the 10th frame to win the match or go home. The challenge to rise up and perform in that sort of do-or-die situation is the essence of match play. On this particular occasion, Gage Patrick wasn't quite able to make the shots he needed at the end to deliver a win. But in his defense, he never seemed to get comfortable playing this pair of lanes. He started the match playing deep inside, then spent much of the match playing out by the first arrow, and eventually moved back inside at the end in a risky gambit that didn't pay off quite the way he'd hoped it might. But Gage Patrick has built a strong game, and I'm sure we'll see him again on Prodigy. But it was Jackson Conroe who threw the strikes in the 8th and 9th to go from trailing in the match to being the lead dog that his opponent couldn't quite catch this time. So Jackson Conroe advances to match 2, where he'll now face our number 3 qualifier, Tristan Warnke of Columbia, Missouri. Tristan's dad is out of town bowling in a tournament of his own today, so he has his mom and his older brother Johnny in the gallery rooting for him. You saw Johnny on Prodigy last month when we were in Leavenworth. And Johnny once again stuffs him straight back. Similarly, Jackson Conroe has his older brother Caleb and his dad in his rooting section today. He gave that one plenty of room, so both players should feel well supported as they try to climb the ladder. Jackson Conroe, as I mentioned earlier, 11 years old. And Tristan Warnke is 13. So a couple of years difference in age between these two. This young fellow has a high game of 239. Pretty solid style for somebody whose high game is only 239. I imagine it won't be long and he'll be topping that. Heck, it might be this game. So Jackson, you better beware. Right over the second arrow, swings it out no more than to about 9, and that just rolled him over. And so did that one by Jackson Conroe. He's found a nice little spot on the lane. If he can keep that ball from getting too wide, it'll set in the oil for him. Watch this. Lays it down at about 20, throws it over about 17. It only gets out to about 8 or 9. And actually, he does even better when he only gets it out to about 10. It sets right in the pocket. And that one almost found the pocket. Just a pinch high, leaves the 4. As you can see, these two players very evenly matched. Only 1 pin difference in handicap. And Jackson covers the 4 pin with ease. Well, Tristan and his older brother Johnny, who was on the April Division IV show, both benefit from having a father who's a bowling coach at a high school there in the Columbia, Missouri area. And you can watch Tristan and see that he is well coached. He's learned a lot of fundamentals. His style is pretty solid. A few things we could nitpick on, but a lot of it will work itself out as he gets bigger and stronger. Pulled that one, leaves the 3, 9, 10, and this is no bargain. Ideally, you'd like to place the ball on the right side of the 3 and have it deflect into the 10, but still have enough juice on it to get through and carry out the 9. He's going to go back door and nearly got it off the wall. Wow. That would have been fortunate to say the least, but as it is, it's just a close call and an open frame. And Jackson Conroe takes a 4-pin lead. Well, he let up on the speed just a little bit. He got that thing out to about 8 again, like he did when he struck on the right lane in the first frame. But I think his ball speed was down just a little bit. See how he goes more end over end at spares? Doesn't hook as much. That is a nice trick to have in your bag of tricks when you're shooting at spares, to be able to flatten out your release, not come around it so much, be able to throw a straighter shot at spares. That's the spot. No, just a pinch high once again, just like in the second frame. Looked like a pretty good shot. This young fellow did competitive dance for 6 years. No wonder he's got good footwork. Just barely takes care of the 4-pin. It's okay, you don't have to hurt him. You just got to knock him down. All right. That was a good shot by Tristan. And once again, just a little high. His high series is 625. He started bowling at the age of 10. That'd be 3 years ago. His first league when he was 11. That would be just a couple of years ago. And he takes care of the 4-pin. So we've got us a close match between these two. Tristan plays a few other sports in school as well, including football, basketball, and he goes out for track and field. All-around athlete. And another 4-pin on the left lane. But except for that one ball in the third, where he left the 3-9-10, Tristan has been keeping the ball in play. And that's what you want to do in a match game situation. Keep the ball in play, you'll leave easier spares, like the 4-pin. Oh! Maybe not as easy as we thought. That was unexpected. But he hooked by the single pin spare, and that hands a 13-pin lead to Jackson Conroe, who's up in the 5th working on a spare. And that ball drifts high, and he almost had the 4-7-10 staring at him. But the 10 went out. He leaves the 4-7. A very similar spare to what Tristan just missed on the other lane. But there's that straight ball that does not hook by the 4. And Jackson will maintain an 11-pin edge heading into the second half of the match. Well, in addition to bowling, Jackson also plays basketball. Begging for that ball to get up, and it doesn't quite make it back. Got a piece of the head pin, though. But he leaves a little cluster that can be bothersome at times, the 2-4-8. You want to put the ball pretty flush on the 2-pin. Look out. He missed the 2-pin completely, and the 8 did not get the message. So 8 out, and the lead goes back to Tristan Warnke. Here, I don't want it. You take it. And Tristan finds the pocket with a frozen rope. Looked like he pulled it, but he had enough speed on it that it didn't hook. Watch it again. See, at the bottom of the swing, the ball is right under his head. That's perfect. That's right where we like to see it. Once again, we'd like to see his fingers below the equator of the ball. But he's still a pretty little guy, and that'll come as he grows and gets stronger and bigger and more dangerous on the lanes, which I have a feeling this guy will do. Well, and as he gets bigger, he'll also be throwing heavier bowling balls. I don't know what weight he's throwing, but he's not a very big guy, and that's got to be probably 10 or 11 pounds, I would guess, maybe 12 tops. And a ball in the pocket, leaving a 5-pin. Let's see how many hands are up in the gallery. Just a couple. But he makes short work of it and maintains a 4-pin lead. So Jackson Conroe Gonna try to get busy here in the closing frames. Boy, that's a beautiful shot right there. Looked to me like he might have gotten it a little too wide into that zone where a ball might read too early and hook too soon, but no, he had it perfectly measured. Over about 16 at the arrows, out to about 7. He got it a little wider, but as long as you get it wide farther down the lane as opposed to earlier on the lane, you're okay. And that one stayed inside the oil line the whole way, and so it was never going to overhook. Those are two quality shots back to back for Jackson. Watch this one. Over about 16 at the arrows. That ball never got wider than about 11. And I think that's the magic spot right there. Now, once again, Tristan paying the price of throwing lighter equipment. And he doesn't generate quite the same entry angle as Jackson, being a one-hander. But an easy spare to convert the 7-pin. Of course, I said that earlier when he was shooting a 4-pin and he missed it, but I don't think he'll miss this. Easy peasy. But now with Jackson on a roll, working on a double, Tristan trailing by 7, needs to put a strike up here in the foundation 9th to set himself up to make a run in the 10th frame. Oh, that was another pretty good ball. He just got around it a little too much, and it didn't have enough forward roll on it to drive through the pins much. The lighter weight of the ball hurt as well, but see him make the 10. Got it. Tell you what, both of these two kids pretty scrappy. I'm impressed. What is Jackson gonna do working on a double? Oh, he comes in light, gets the shaker. We get a little smile out of him. Watch this, watch the head pin. The one in front. It will go to the left wall and come back and take out the 4, 5, and 7. Well, he got the 4 and the 7. The 5 was already starting to tip over. 18-pin lead. He can put it away here. But instead, it goes high. So we need to do a little math. Spare strike, and Jackson will shoot 203. Tristan, 3 strikes in the 10th would net him 197. So Jackson needs this mark. So that puts him at 193. The best Tristan can do is 197. Jackson needs 5 pins on this ball to shut out Tristan and move on to match 3. Chalk it up. Tristan bowled a good game. He's a little confused about which lane to bowl on here, but that's sorted out quickly. Possible 197 with 3 strikes in the 10th. There's the first one. I think we're going to be watching these two for years to come. I mean, they're just 11 and 13. Keep an eye on these two. Well, the light hit doesn't quite get the wall shot this time. It really doesn't matter at this point. Match is already in Jackson's win column. But show us a trick shot here, Tristan. The 5-7. He made this in the periphery last month on Prodigy, when the 5 was moved off spot about 5 inches to the right. But this time it's 9 out, so 186. And Jackson's 203 puts him in match 3. He'll face Curtis Jones when we return. Tristan Warnke bowled a pretty good game. He did have that one big mistake where he hooked past the 4-pin, and then he also had that one split, the 3-9-10, but he almost made that. If not for Jackson Conroe's turkey in the late frames, that match could have gone the other way. But Tristan is just going to have to chalk it up as a learning experience and watch as Jackson Conroe advances to match 3. The last time we saw his opponent, Curtis Jones, was 13 months ago at the 2024 KCO April Point Tournament in Leavenworth, when Curtis was the tournament leader in Division 5 and went on to win. Wow. Honestly, I hardly recognized him today since he's cut off his blonde hair. But if Curtis bowls like he did that day 13 months ago, he'll be a tough out for Jackson. Looks like Curtis has decided to let Jackson start the match. Players, the higher qualifier always has that prerogative to choose. Jackson will throw the opening shot. And he keeps it inside the oil line again, and that seems to be the trick. If he can do that, he'll keep it in play. Starts with a strike, tripping the 4. And now Curtis Jones, who has done some growing since we saw him last. He's taller, but his hair is shorter. I barely recognized him. And he gets a light shaker to scatter him. This young fellow, 16. He's 5 years older than his opponent. Bowls for the DeSoto team. For his coach, Tyler Lovegren, assistant coach. Tyler, the older brother of Colby Lovegren, who you've seen on the show numerous times, and his sister Avery, who's been on the show once or twice. Through the nose this time. And Curtis leaves a tricky little cluster, the 3-6-10. Just got to be careful with this. I'd like to see him move a little farther to the left to shoot it. But he gets it anyway. Now Jackson Conroe says he got started bowling when he went to a bowling alley one day, just started bowling on a whim and just decided he really liked it.
Good shot.
And obviously he has a knack for it. High series of 621. I have no doubt he will be beating that before too long. Covers the 4. And you see that we've added Jackson's 5 pins of handicap into his score. in the very first frame. The handicap at the KCO is 90% of the difference between the players' entering average and the top of their division. Division 3, his average is 160 to 179. Wow, another solid strike. So that tells us that Curtis Jones' average has to be right there around 179, maybe 178. I'm not sure what it is, but he has 0 pins of handicap, so he's got to be close to the top of the division. And I'll tell you what, you hit them there, they're usually going to fall. Well, that ball was wide, but crossed over and like a runaway freight train. Curtis drifts quite a bit to the left. You see where his left foot is? It's just maybe a little left of 20. Then he takes a big step to the left with his left foot. It's hard to do that consistently, the same number of boards time after time. The ball is in good position relative to his head, right under his head, fingers under the ball. Love it. Fairly close to his ankle, not bad. I'd like to see his elbow get a little closer to his torso. That would bring the ball in a little closer to his ankle. He would get better accuracy that way, but can't argue with the results. You'll take a Brooklyn anytime you get one. Ooh, nearly had a pocket 7-10. You could argue with that. But the 10 goes out, and he's left with just the 7. Oh, man, what are you doing throwing it over there?
You're right.
I have to tell you, I am not a fan of taking the scenic route to single pin spares. He threw that one almost all the way to the right, almost to about the second or third board, expecting it to hook the entire lane to get the 7. I don't recommend that method. Jackson, high, a little to the left of the head pin. Leaves just the 6. And once again, Jackson in a familiar position, leading in the match. And he takes care of the single pin spare. Well, prior to today, Jackson had only bowled in 3 KCOs. He bowled last month in April. He finished 18th. He bowled in the March Point tournament, where he finished 32nd. And in February, his first KCO, he finished 8th. Pretty nice start, finishing 8th in your first tournament. But this time he fails to strike on his good lane, the left lane. And he'll go for the 6-10. Got to get over. Just did.
Keep it clean. So you're bowling.
Tell you what, he's impressed me today. Curtis is going to need to bring it if he wants to catch Jackson from behind. Man, he sent that one. I thought it was going in the gutter. He sent that so far to the right, and it hooked back and went through the nose, and he nearly left the 6-7. And he hooks by the 6-pin. So back-to-back whiffed single-pin spares. And you just can't do that in tournament bowling. It's tough enough to beat these other people. When you go out there and you start beating yourself, that makes it doubly difficult. But still half the match left. He trails by 26. There's time to get back. Oh, but not leaving stuff like that. The dreaded 2-8-10. This is rarely made. Usually I would recommend you just go for the 2 and put the ball right on the face of the 2-pin. But it's getting late in the match. You might want to go for it. And if you want to go for it, here's the way to make it. You got to hit the 2-pin over into the wall, knock the 10 into the 8. It can be done. I've seen it with my own eyes. But he got caught kind of in between land there. Not thin enough to send the 2 into the wall, but too far to the left to drive out the 2 and the 8. So it's another open frame, and Jackson is in control. And he gets another solid strike. Tell you what, this little kid is scrappy. My goodness. It's easy to look past him, but you do so at your own peril. Half pocket, and he still drives out the 10. Goodness gracious. Another strike would send his lead to 48. Nearly. Just a little too high, leaves the 4. But he has definitely put Curtis's back to the wall. And I tell you what, not only does Jackson seem composed on the lanes, he's got his brother and his dad right behind him in the gallery, rooting him on, supporting him. That is big for a youngster who's just doing this for the first time. That's a good quality shot by Curtis Jones. Just drifted a little too high, and you can see the frustration on his face. He's shaking his head like, what do I have to do to get a strike? Well, I'd like to see you just get a spare, Curtis. And there's one. Okay, he stops the bleeding. That's something. Curtis can strike out for 195. And Jackson is going at a 2:03 pace. So this isn't over. Oh, look at that. He throws up his hands in disgust, like he knows that's not going to strike. And yet, it crosses over and he gets a Brooklyn. Just hang in there, Curtis. You don't know what your opponent is going to do yet. He's going to do that. He's going to throw another strike and put a little more pressure on his opponent. But I just caution Curtis not to get too disconsolate. You just don't know what your opponent is going to do. This young kid is still very inexperienced. He's probably never been in a position like this before. And looky here. The 4-6-7. Unless Jackson pulls off an Antonio Miranda type miracle. Antonio made the 4-6 on Prodigy a couple of years ago. This is going to tighten the match. It's 9 out. Jackson does what he had to do to make the most of an impossible situation. But now the lead is just 26. Curtis, again, a possible 195. If he were to strike out, he would force Jackson to double in the 10th to win the match. But he whiffs the head pin. Oh, man. That is going to make his job very difficult. Now the best Curtis can hope for is 175. Jackson can beat that without a mark. Oh, well, that's going to wrap it up right there by missing that spare. Jackson wins sitting on the bench. Boy. Well, a couple of missed single pin spares in the middle of the match put Curtis behind the 8 ball. And of course, now that the match is effectively over, the pocket opens up to Curtis. And he throws a powerful strike. Isn't that the way it always happens? I know he's thinking, where was this earlier? There he is over the 5th arrow. Swings it out to about 15. That's where Gage Patrick started. But then Curtis moves a little farther to the right, not being comfortable in that deep inside position. And he leaves the 3-9. It's all academic now, just going through the motions to finish out the match. There's a conversion, but it's a disappointing 153 for our 2 seed, who knows he had better in him today than a 153. He wouldn't have finished as the number 2 qualifier if he didn't. But there's Jackson Conroe showing him how it's done, keeping that ball left of the dry part of the lane. That is the secret. Watch this. It's over about 17 at the arrows, but it never gets to the right of about 11 at the break point. Same spot. And a similar result. Couple of strikes. Well, I think this young fellow has learned a lot in these 3 matches, and he's 1 match away from putting his name on the coveted trophy pin. And that would get him into the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions on June 22nd. His brother is already in the tournament. There's a 9 count to finish, and Jackson salvages a 200 out of this match. It's more than enough to win, and Jackson Conroe has won 3 matches and is now headed to the championship against our tournament leader. It's Grace Ryder next. Now, from the Prodigy Bowlers Tour newsroom, with reports from across the universe, around the world, throughout the nation, and up your alley, this is Prodigy Striking News. The results from the Kansas and Missouri Pepsi tournaments are in, and several Prodigy kids fared quite well. We start with Kansas, where little Kanan Duncan captured first place in the U8 boys division. In U10 boys, Carter Reese, who you've been watching today on Prodigy in the periphery to the right, finished 5th. In U10 girls, Kendall Cochran finished 2nd, and in U12 girls, Kaylin Melvin took 1st place, while Briley Walschlager Monty finished 5th, and Willow Burns was 8th. In U12 boys, another youngster who I'm sure you'll be seeing on Prodigy someday soon, Hunter Everett. He took the title, while Johnny Futrell, who you saw win the adult youth doubles title on Prodigy back in December, he finished 2nd. Adam Wilson, who won the Division III adult youth title in March, was 4th. In U15 boys, Tyler Haig, who you saw win on Prodigy in April, he finished 5th. In U15 girls, Hadley Keeler, the twin sister of Annalise Keeler, she finished 3rd. In U18 boys, Jesse Holtkamp, who won on Prodigy in November, finished 4th, while Thomas Futrell was 6th and Nicholas Sharp was 8th. And in U18 girls, Avery Lovegren grabbed third, while Layla Gonzalez, the left-handed sister of Bella Gonzalez, finished fourth. Now we turn our attention to the Missouri Pepsi Tournament. In the U12 boys division, Jackson Conroe, who you've been watching on Prodigy today, he finished fifth at the Pepsi. And Cameron Watson, another KCO regular, finished sixth. In the U15 boys division, Dylan Pollard, the Dill Pickle, took first place. And Cooper Farmer, who won on Prodigy back in September, he finished as the runner-up. In U15 girls, Isabel Young was the winner, with Avery Bourne, the youngster who recently became the youngest girl to ever bowl a sanctioned 300 in the state of Missouri. She finished second. Bailey Coleman of the Bowling Coleman family was sixth. Lillian Fuhr was eighth. And Allison Deere finished 12th. In U18 girls, Haley Hill was the runner-up. Fiona West finished third. Grace Ryder, who you're about to watch on Prodigy, took sixth. And Olivia Deere finished ninth. And finally, among the U18 boys finalists, we'll work our way up the list this time. In ninth place was another member of the Bowling Coleman family, Andrew Coleman. He won on Prodigy back in October. Jonas Tucker finished eighth. Eli Clinklin took fifth. Caden Ball finished fourth. Zion Dawson was third. And in first place was Caden White.
Surprise, surprise, surprise!
Caden bowled a stunning total of 1507 for 6 games. That's an average of 251 per game. Now, I can't confirm it, but it's been reported to us that in the history of the Missouri State Pepsi Tournament, only 2 other times has a player turned in a 6-game total of 1,500 or higher. And the last time it happened, it was Spencer Robarge. In 2021, he scored a total of 1615. That's an average of 269 per game. So, Caden, quit slacking off. Just kidding. That 1507 you bowled was awesome. Congratulations to the Missouri Pepsi champion in the U18 boys division, Caden White. He is flying in some rarefied air. By the way, the same day Caden shot that 1507 at Pepsi, he also held his high school graduation party, and I was only too happy to attend. This is not only a fine young bowler, but he is one of the most likable kids you could ever hope to meet. Caden is also part of a really strong class of youth bowlers who are aging out of youth bowling this summer. So enjoy them while we still get to watch them bowl. I can tell you that Caden will be on our next edition, episode 191 of Prodigy Bowlers Tour, and you won't want to miss it. Oh, and one final thing while we're on the subject of the Pepsi tournament. A big news story dropped recently when the USBC announced that the tournament known as the Pepsi is being rebranded starting in the 2025-26 season as the USBC Youth Scratch Championships presented by SMART. That's SMART as in Smart Scholarships, which stands for Scholarship Management and Account Reporting for 10 Pins. That's the official bowling scholarship. So what this rebranding means is players who won the Pepsi tournament this year are the last champions who can claim to have won the Pepsi tournament. It'll have a different name starting next season. All right, now it's time to get you back to Revolution's Lanes and Fun Center in St. Joseph, Missouri for the championship match in Division III at the 2025 KCO May Point Tournament between Jackson Conroe and our tournament leader, Grace Ryder. Well, I think when Curtis Jones looks back on this match to evaluate what happened, he would do well to hone in on those 2 back-to-back whiffs of single pin spares in the 4th and 5th frames, followed by another open in the 6th when he left the nearly impossible 2-8-10 resulting in a third consecutive open frame. I know how frustrated he was. We could see it on his face. But he's still only been bowling a couple of years now and has shown remarkable progress. You just keep doing what you're doing, Curtis. Progress will come. But today it's Jackson Conroe who has won 3 matches and is now just one more win away from punching his ticket to bowl with his brother Caleb at the Prodigy TOC. But first, he has to get past our tournament leader, Grace Ryder. Grace won on our very first telecast of a handicap division at the KCO back in September of 2022. She did what Jackson is hoping to do. She ran the stepladder that day. And I can tell you, she's gotten a whole lot better in the 20 months since then. This should be a very competitive match. This young lady lives in Pilot Grove, Missouri, near a little town called Boonville. I affectionately refer to her as Country. Pulled it, crosses over, leaves the 5-9. This young lady, one of the nicest kids that we have, regulars at the KCO. She is a certified nursing assistant and a leader in numerous student organizations. Just as likable as they get. Now she's got a little tricky spare here, the 5-9. Easy to chop. Got to be careful with it. Oh, and that's what I was afraid of. Well, you see, we've added her 9 pins of handicap into the 9 she scored in the first frame. That's how we arrive at 18. And now Jackson Conroe looking to run the stepladder. Comes in thin, and that ball had no drive on it. And I think that's because he kind of spun out at the foul line. His slide foot was pointing almost parallel to the foul line to the right. And that's not how you make the 5-7. You got to put that ball on the right side of the 5, not the left side. So he gets a field goal, but we do not award 3 points for those kind of field goals. Jackson, sorry. So both players with an open to start. Lane's starting to break down a little more, starting to transition a little more. Jackson finds his ball drifting over to the Brooklyn side, but he got away with it and managed to sneak in a strike on Grace. She takes tiny little steps, but look what it does. She's almost always in perfect balance at the foul line. That was not the case the first time we saw her on Prodigy 2.5 years ago. But that ball right by her ankle at release. She's stable at the line, and that ball just drove through the pocket. This young lady says she wants to be a registered nurse on a pediatrics unit. I think she can be pretty much anything she wants to be. Pulled it. Will it set? Not quite. Breaks through the nose and leaves the baby split, the 3-10. Well, if there's any consolation, it could have been worse. You go through the nose, that could have been a 6-7 or something, but the 3-10, as splits go, this is one of the easier ones. Put the ball on the right side of the 3, it will deflect into the 10. Just like that. Beautifully done. Well, Jackson, I think you're going to need to bring your A game this match. Grace looks like she's ready. Well, as I mentioned, you put the ball through the nose, you're liable to leave a 6-7. We've seen this one made on Prodigy before. On our very first episode, in the very first frame of our very first episode, Charles Bostic made the 6-7-10. That's how it's done. Jackson? He gets too much of the 6-pin. So that's 2 opens and 3 frames, not the start he had hoped for. Well, I will remind you once again that the bowlers to our left, that is the Division 4 group. The bowlers to our right, Division 5. There's a big strike for Jackson, bouncing back. We will recap how the step ladders in those 2 other divisions, 4 and 5, played out when we get to the end of our show after we visit with our winner, whether it's Jackson Conroe or Grace Ryder. Who will it be? Almost a blower. But the 5 falls over and gets the 4, so she's left with only the 7. She will wait and let the players on either side go. That's Draxton Beebe on the right in Division 5. Player on our left who you just saw was Emma Wadersky. You saw her last month on Prodigy. And Grace takes care of the 7-pin. No muss, no fuss. Her high game, a 258, and her high 3-game series, 628. She's been bowling since she was 8, and she is 17 years old now. Has 1 more year of eligibility as a youth bowler in 2025-26. And she plants that one right in the pocket. She won't give it away. Here's her footwork, 4 steps, tiny, tiny little steps. This is a pretty big girl. It's kind of odd to see someone as tall as she is take such tiny little steps, but you see where she starts on the approach. Jackson with the fast 8. Man, that looked like a pretty good ball. But the 2-pin flies up and around the 4-7. Watch him. See how his feet both point to the right? When he gets to the foul line, that's also where he finishes, with that left foot pointing off to the right. You want to keep your feet fairly square to the line. That keeps your hips more square. When you open up your hips too much, you're swinging across your body when you let it go, and you lose a lot of power. You want the force of your big muscles, the ones around your hips and legs, to be helping out with the throw rather than have it all be your arms. Especially when you're still a little guy like Jackson. Good shot. He's got that left lane all lined up. And the good news is he's going to finish on that left lane. That's 3 strikes in a row on lane 15. You see what he's doing. He's keeping that ball just to the left of the oil line, and it sets in the pocket. That one almost drifted a little high, but a slight move to the left, and he can stay right in that spot. All right, Grace. And she just blows him over. Wow. That extends her lead to 26 pins. Jackson, you got a live one this game, buddy. Boy, that ball is right next to her ankle. That is so good. And there's never a doubt about that one. She can almost put this match out of reach with another one here in the 7th. Hold it. Through the nose, lucky to leave just the 6. Grace's best finish so far this season until today. She qualified in the number 2 position in December at the Adult Youth Doubles Tournament and finished 3rd. She also finished 6th in October in Gladstone. Covers the 6. So it's crunch time. Jackson Conroe trailing by 25. Has a strike up in the 6th. He can cut the lead to 15. And he found that same line that he's been using on the left lane. He rides it into the pocket in the 7th frame on the right lane. Watch it. They'll lay this ball down at about 20. It only gets out to about 10 or 11 at its widest point, and he stuffed them straight back. Now he can cut the lead to 5. And there's another solid strike on the left lane. And all of a sudden, we've got a match. Take a look at 3 of Jackson's strikes on that left lane. In the 4th, 6th, and 8th frames, they all look pretty similar, and a very similar line. Each one right in the hole. So similar were they. Let's see just how similar by stacking those 3 approaches on top of each other with our exclusive 3 deep look. You see a little bit of variance, but not a lot. No matter how you calculate it, Jackson's got to be pretty pleased with those 3 shots. All right, Grace. She reminds Jackson that she came here to play as well with a rock-solid strike of her own in the 8th frame. Look at that short approach. She's a good 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet in front of the front row of dots on the approach. Those dots are 12 feet from the foul line. She's probably got an approach of no more than 10 feet, maybe 9. If it'll set, nope, goes high. Leaves the 6-10, at least it's not a split. But it looks like Grace likes the right lane, and Jackson loves the left lane. And both players are going to finish on their good lane. So this could get real interesting down toward the end of the match. Grace covers the spare. She's gotten so much better at spares. It's crazy. But just 5 pins separating these two. But watch this. With a double up, Jackson can take the lead here with a strike in the 9th. And he snaps out the 10-pin. And now he will take a 5-pin lead into the 10th frame. Watch it again. He's just playing these lanes flawlessly. That over about 17. It only got out to about 12. He was not messing with the dry part of the lane out to the right. That is smart bowling. Now let's see if he can polish it off. Oh, no! Through the nose. And now he's got a problem. The 5-pin lead shrinks to 2 because he loses 3 pins in count. But more importantly, he needs to make this spare and get good count to force Grace to double in the 10th to beat him. You heard his brother Caleb yelling, push, push, push. It didn't. So it's an open frame, and Jackson finishes with 196. So here's the situation. Grace, leading by 10, needs a mark. She needs to fill 11 pins in the 10th frame. Now she's on a spare, so we've got to count whatever pins she gets on her first ball in the 10th as part of it. A good commercial shot, finds the pocket, leaves the 10-pin, so she'll lose 1 pin in count. So here's the deal. Grace must make the 10-pin. If she misses the spare, Jackson wins. If she makes it, she'll need 2 pins on her fill ball to take the title. Gotta have this. And she covers it. The one time Grace Ryder won on Prodigy Bowlers Tour, I'm not sure she could have made a 10-pin in the 10th frame in a must-make situation like this. But that straight arm swing, straight back, straight through, right toward the target, held up under pressure, as those great arm swings always do. Now she just needs 2 pins. And oh, by the way, stay behind the foul line. There it is. Winner, winner, country dinner in St. Joe. As Grace Ryder denies Jackson Conroe of his first KCO title, Grace Ryder takes the Division III championship in the final frame. We'll visit with her and get her to sign the coveted trophy pin right after this. In a thrilling championship match, Grace Ryder led most of the way, but then in the 9th frame, Jackson Conroe overtook her with a strike that gave him the lead heading into the 10th frame. But an ill-timed split that Jackson was unable to convert gave Grace the opportunity to close out the match with a mark in the 10th and steal victory from the jaws of defeat. She left a 10-pin and then skillfully converted it to take the title, her first of this season. And Jackson Conroe got his first taste of what it's like to be in the mix all the way to the end of a tournament. I suspect once he licks his wounds, he'll be chomping at the bit to get himself back in position again to have another crack at winning. But today, it was Grace Ryder's day. It's been about 2.5 years since the last time we visited with her in the winner's circle.
We're back where we started. At the very first Kansas City Open telecast of Prodigy Bowlers Tour at a handicap event, we interviewed this lovely young lady who ran the stepladder to win. Today, she didn't have to do that much work. She was the tournament leader, and what happened?
I almost missed a 10 and I wasn't.
You won?
I did.
Well, speak up and let us hear you.
I know.
How did you do it?
Not well. I missed a lot.
You what?
Said I missed a lot.
You missed a lot, but you made a lot too. You made some real good shots all day to be the tournament leader. And then you ran into a tough opponent
Definitely.
in Jackson Conroe, but you got him at the end. So what were you thinking when you got up in the 10th frame?
That if I miss this 10 pin right now, I'm going to get made on it next one.
But you didn't. You made it.
Did.
And here's a little secret for all you Prodigy heads who've been watching the show for a while and may not remember, but the first time Grace was on the show, she had a little incident. Do you remember what happened?
I do. I went up to throw my shot in the ball. I went to swing back and I dropped the ball because my hands were so sweaty and I was so nervous.
She got to the top of her swing and the ball came flying back at us, but you didn't let it bother you. You just kind of went and dried off your hand and took a moment to collect yourself and came back, threw a strike, then threw another strike to shut out your opponent on the way to winning. And I thought that was pretty impressive at the time, but you have just gotten better and better and better, and now you might make this a habit.
Maybe, hopefully.
That'd be fun. Well, you know what this means because you bowled in the Prodigy Tournament of Champions once before, and as I recall, you did pretty well that day. You made the
I wouldn't call that well.
the wild card round, but first things first, you get to sign the coveted trophy pin, and that punches your ticket into the Prodigy TOC this year, which will be June 22nd at Olathe. We expect you to be there. You just pick a spot anywhere you want. Grace Ryder. She's gonna sign it right there next to Caden White's signature. What's the date today? It's May 4th. There you go. It's almost Cinco de Mayo. It's Cinco de Cuatro. And there is the coveted trophy pin with a new signature on it today from our latest winner in Division 3 in St. Joe, Grace Ryder. Congratulations.
As I mentioned earlier during the show, the bowlers in the periphery to our left were the Division 4 finalists. And here's how their stepladder played out. In the opening match, the 5-seed Allison Deere eked out a close win over the 4-seed Noah Dupree, 142 to 140. In match 2, the 3-seed Andrew Scott defeated Allison Deere 179 to 120, sending him into match 3, where he got past the 2-seed Samuel Johnson 165 to 156. And in the championship match, Andrew Scott polished off a championship run by defeating a very eager and somewhat nervous tournament leader, Emma Wadersky, 169 to 159. So congratulations to Andrew Scott on winning the Division IV title. And the bowlers in the periphery to our right were the Division V finalists. Here's how their stepladder played out. In match 1, a couple of familiar faces to Prodigy viewers went at it as the 5 seed, Briley Wolschlager Monty, got past Little Canaan Duncan 149 to 130. Then Briley took down the 3 seed, Carter Reese, another young fella that uses the two-handed delivery, 146 to 134. Then in match 3, the number 2 qualifier, Colton Peters, was the next to fall to Briley Wolschlager Monty, 164 to 156. But in the championship match, it was tournament leader Draxton Beebe who held serve, fending off the challenge by Briley Wolschlager Monty, 199 to 131, to secure the title. So congratulations to Draxton Beebe on his Division V championship. All 3 of these winners, Draxton Beebe in Division V, Andrew Scott in Division IV, and Grace Ryder, who you saw win the Division III crown today on Prodigy, are now eligible to bowl in the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions on June 22nd at Olathe Lanes East, and should be on the lookout for an email with all the details. On our next edition of Prodigy Bowlers Tour, episode 191, dropping in about a week, we'll bring you the championship finals in Division I from this very same KCO May Point Tournament in St. Joe. And trust me when I say this is one show you will not want to miss, as the sparks were flying. There's only one more Kansas City Open tournament left on the calendar for this season, the 2025 KCO Invitational, scheduled for June 1st at Olathe Lanes East. Then, as I mentioned earlier, on June 22nd, it's our final event of the season, the Prodigy Bowlers Tour Tournament of Champions. The invitations have all been sent out to all the KCO champions from this season, whether they won as the featured division on the show or their stepladder was in the periphery. Either way, they're eligible to compete in the Prodigy TOC. The winner of the handicap division will win the Hunter Moffett Award. The winner of the scratch division will take home the Charles Bostic Award. And those 2 winners will face off in the final showdown for the grand prize, the coveted trophy pin. Plus, our 2 winners will each receive a nice Smart Scholarship prize based on the number of entries we get. And we'll name the recipient of the 2024-25 PBAA, that's Prodigy Bowlers Across America, Player of the Year Award, as voted on by our blue ribbon panel of judges and Prodigy viewers across the fruited plain. It's the most exciting time of the year, as our 2 biggest tournaments of the season are right up ahead. If you liked this video, leave a thumbs up, smash the subscribe button, and ring that notification bell to receive notifications whenever we post new content on the channel. You know, 3/4 of Prodigy viewers don't subscribe to the channel, and that prevents us from growing the channel the way we could. It doesn't cost you a penny, and it means a lot to us. So please subscribe and leave a comment. All these things help work the YouTube algorithm in our favor, so our videos get recommended to others. Also, if you'd like to actually financially support the work that goes into producing these shows, and each episode takes about 40 hours to put together, become a Prodigy patron. It's a way for fans of the show to kick in a little to show their appreciation for what we do. For as little as $5 a month, you get early access to all our full-length episodes of Prodigy. And for $10 a month, you not only get early access, but you also get your name listed in the show's closing credits as an executive producer of Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Go to www.patreon.com/Prodigy Bowlers Tour and follow the instructions to become a patron. Then, to keep up with all things Prodigy, even during the off-season over the summer, join the Prodigy Facebook group. From any page on Facebook, type Prodigy Bowlers Tour into the search bar and hit enter. That'll take you to the page where you can submit a request to join the group. But remember to answer the 3 screening questions. By doing so, you'll let us know you're a real human who's interested in Prodigy, not some spam bot or troll that nobody wants in the group. Answer the screening questions and you'll be approved. Don't answer the screening questions and your request to join will likely be declined. So that's a wrap for this edition of Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Remember, we're right back here in St. Joe on our next edition of Prodigy for the Division I Championship round. That episode should drop on May 24th. So until then, this is Coach Randy reminding you to stay behind the foul line and keep kicking out the corner pins, not the foul lights and ball returns. And I'll talk to you again next time on Prodigy Bowlers Tour. Now, go get your bowl on.